Hey everybody, it's Justice for Comics. Hope everybody's having a good start to their week. I just wanted to film a real quick video talking about some developments in the comic book world. One of them being a major one, a writer and creator, James Tynion IV, is not renewing an exclusive contract with DC Comics and instead is going to venture off into his own SubStack. That's the name of the company. So this is his posting. The title of it is "The Empire of the Tiny Onion." So you can be a subscriber to Substack, to his newsletter, which he will post. Looks like he's posting pretty much on a daily basis right now. Now, obviously, there's a lot going on since he just made this decision. He's got a development deal with Netflix on his property, Something is Killing the Children. There's also going to be a development deal for Department of Truth. I've been saying this from the beginning. Department of Truth is probably going to be the most successful property. That's my opinion. I mean, I think the writing on Something is Killing the Children is fantastic. I just don't know that will translate well to live action, or to basically very doubtful. At least I have my doubts as to whether that will translate really well to a TV show or a movie. So basically, this is the trend that's going on. First of all, James Tynion is a student of Scott Snyder, studied under Snyder for several years. Snyder, as you may well know, has been venturing away from DC. He's got an Image title. He's done a couple Image books. Nothing that I would say is all that successful. Scott Snyder did a really good run on Batman back in the day, and then it fluctuated. So some of the storylines were pretty good, some were weak. Just like any writer, you're going to have ebbs and flows. You're going to have ups and downs. But for the most part, Scott Snyder has been a very successful writer, especially with a lot of the stuff that he did at DC. He did some independent stuff, Witches. He did with Image. That did really well. I thought that was a good title, good read. I did not care for one of his Image books. What was that one? I think Undiscovered Country, I think it was. I didn't care for that title. I didn't think it was that good, and sales are reflecting that. So it's sort of, Cates is having the same problem. His crossover Image title is also not doing very well now. I don't know too many people that think it's a good read. So, writing is a tough gig. James Tynion, I'd say in the last couple years, has been more successful than most at being pretty consistent. I mean, it's tough to knock it out of the park every time. And it's like he's just hit 3 home runs in a row. His Batman run was obviously much better than Tom King's and has been received as such. He introduced some new characters in the Batman mythos that I think seem to be doing well at the moment. His Something is Killing the Children series has done very, very well. Very successful. Probably the most successful independent title probably since Saga or Walking Dead, right? Walking Dead and Saga are the other two that come to mind as far as just kind of a more broad-based success for an independent book. A Nice House on the Lake is another DC title, under the Black Label series. That has done really well. I think 3rd issue just came out. I've read the first couple issues. I thought it was very, very good. Extremely well written. Good background stories on some of the characters. I definitely see that being made into a movie at some point. So Tynion is doing well. He's firing on all cylinders, and he met with the executives of Substack. Substack is basically a platform that allows for people to create their own intellectual property. It could be a newsletter. It could be comic book writing. It could be various things. So for instance, I just started my own Substack the other day. Let me show you guys that real quick. So I'm going to be plugging my own Substack account, Justice for Comics. So basically, if you go into substack.com and search for Justice for Comics, it will bring you to my page. I have my own newsletter now that I'm going to be probably every week writing something to do with the comic book industry, my thoughts on things, having to do with entertainment and comics and pop culture, that kind of thing. So I just had this one. This is sort of my origin story. I just wrote that this morning. So if you have time, make sure that you check out Substack and make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. You'll get probably a weekly newsletter update from me on Substack, and make sure you're checked off for notifications as well. So I've had a couple people already on Instagram. I've posted this on Instagram as well. And I've had a couple people already thank me for creating this and kind of going into a little bit more about myself and my history. And then, so there'll be all kinds of things in here I'll be writing about. But that's my first venture into my own Justice for Comics newsletter. So make sure you check it out. So let's go back to Tynion. I wanted to go over how this sort of works, his subscription service. So there is a free subscription that you can sign up for. You give your email and you will get postings from him. But if you want access to the digital comics that he's going to be creating, you'll have to subscribe, and there is there's different tiers, I would say, right? There's a standard subscription that is, I believe it's $75 for the year. I thought he had this detailed here in this. Let me just scroll through here. Yeah, so here we are. Okay, so there's $7 a month. You get access to everything, every comic, every post, early bird access, and special covers and merchandise. For $75 a year, you still get access to everything, but pay $9 less over the course of the year. He's also running a special deal. So this deal expires tonight at 10:30, by the way. So this, it was a 24-hour deal. He posted it the other day. It expires tonight, Tuesday night at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. So that's just a few hours away. 5 hours away. So for the first 24 hours, you're going to get a signed single comic book in the mail that he's going to pull from his storage locker. He says, I'm going to try to nab you some goodies, some rare covers that I have extras of, etc. No guarantees, no requests, no promises that they're going to be perfect, 9/8 or anything, but I'm going to try to dig up some gems. So good chance he's probably going to pull a comic book and sign it, and that's probably going to pay for your subscription for the year, right? Or very close to it. So that's your standard subscription. If you want to do the $75 for the year, I would suggest doing that versus the $7 a month if you want to at least have access to his content, his digital comics, that kind of thing. Now, the one I signed up for is the Founders tier. The Founders tier is basically you're part of an exclusive club. That is the way I kind of look at it. So you're obviously paying more money, and for the more money that you're paying, you're getting exclusivity to things that you don't have access to unless you're in this membership. So the Founders tier for $250 a year, paid up front, you're going to have access to all the digital content, all of his comic books that he's creating throughout the year, and you're going to get that free signed comic book. But in addition to that, you're also going to get 6 exclusive covers by Tynion that are only being produced for this this founders tier. So it makes me wonder, what's that going to look like? How many members, how many people are going to sign up and spend $250 for the year to be part of this group? Now, if you think about it mathematically, if 100 people signed up and pay $250 a year, you know, that's a pretty good sum of money. What we're looking at $250,000 a year in income off of that. 1,000 people sign up, that's $2.5 million a year. Obviously, that's in addition to what he's being paid by Substack. So he has a deal. Basically, it almost works like a grant. They're giving him money to produce the content, and then he's also going to be making money off of these subscriptions. So what I like about it is the fact that you're going to get physical copies, 6 of these comic books per year, that no one else is going to have. So if there's 1,000 members, which I think is probably unlikely, I think it's going to be somewhere between 100 and 300 members is my guess. If I had to put a number on it, somewhere in that range, 100 to 300 members. So if there happens to be 1,000 members that sign up for that founders tier, and there's going to be these 6 books coming out per year, the print run's going to be 1,000, is basically going to be only 1,000, right? It's going to be a pretty low print run, and it's only going to be to those members. You're not going to have somebody that has 5 or 6 copies. You know, it's just 1 per membership. So, you know, I mean, I guess it's possible somebody can have multiple memberships. Maybe you sign up, create a membership. You have your wife sign up and create a membership. I mean, I suppose per household it's possible to get more, more than one of these comic books. But for the most part, you're looking at 1 per household, right? So, and I'm sure they have a way of figuring out, somebody isn't creating multiple accounts. I'm sure they're going to check the IP address and all that stuff to make sure there isn't some fraudulent activity going on to get multiple copies. But that's going to be the only way you're going to get these 6 covers, is being part of that founders tier. So I wanted to do this video not only to talk about my new newsletter that I just created, inspired by James Tynion himself, but to also plug his Substack. I think this is a great deal, especially if you're into exclusive covers, which everyone knows I am. I love buying exclusive comic book covers that have low print runs, and there's a lot of desirability to that. So this is something that I thought would be worth taking a look at. Check it out yourself. Go to Substack, type in, search James Tynion, Empire of the Tiny Onion will come up. And that's what he's up to. So you got the most powerful writer in comic books today. Remember, this is the Eisner Award-winning Writer of the Year. He just won that Eisner Award. So this is something he just posted I haven't even read yet. He just posted this an hour ago. It says, Tiny Update is a weekly free newsletter that keeps you up to date on the latest news, comic book projects, and merchandise offerings from James Tynion IV and the Tiny Onion Studios. Let's see what he has to say. I'm just paraphrasing some of this. But I know some of my new subscribers here aren't comic shop regulars, so I also wanted to take the opportunity today to let them know that this Saturday is Free Comic Book Day. Every year, the major comic book publishers put out a slate of free comic books to get you to come into the shops. You should use the comic shop locator to find your local comic book shop. Okay, so he's promoting Free Comic Book Day. Most of us are aware of that. All right, yeah, so he's not really saying too much there. But so he's promoting what's coming out this week that he's writing. Joker number 6. Here's the Free Comic Book Day for, I think this is coming up this weekend, Enter the House of Slaughter. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people grabbing that. I'm certain of that. You've got a Batman number 1 released here. Looks like a new cover there. by Tynion, talking about his schedule. He's coming to a Comic-Con, looks like in Pennsylvania. All right, so this is a good, he's keeping you updated on what he's doing. Yeah, so if you're a big fan of James Tynion and his creative abilities, I think he is going to create some better ideas even than what he's already done. I don't think Something is Killing the Children is his best. It could be. I mean, maybe that's his pinnacle of his work. Maybe not. We'll see. But I am going along for the ride. I decided it's worth it to be in that club. He is going to close it down tonight at 10:30. After 10:30 this evening, that'll be it. It'll be locked. There will be no one else that will be allowed to be part of that founders tier. So that's what I like about it. I like the fact that it's very exclusive. There's probably only going to be so many people. And yeah, financially, right? It's not a lot of people are going to shell out that kind of money to get a newsletter and 6 comic books a year. But my feeling is probably 1 or 2. If I wanted to sell one or two of those comic books, it'll probably easily pay for the subscription for the year. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And that's why I decided to sign up for it. So that's what I had. Just a quick video, nothing too lengthy, just to talk about what's going on in the comic book industry. The independent comic book publisher is still very, very much a strong force in the industry of comic books. I think back on Cerebus with Dave Sim. There's so many people that have done this. Todd McFarlane, obviously, the Todd Father. Most people view him as a major voice in the independent publishing of comic books through Image. But it's interesting that he hasn't decided where he's going to have these books printed, right? So he could decide to have them printed under Image's title, right? He could hire Image to do the publishing. He could hire Boom Studios to do the publishing. He could have Red 5. I mean, he could choose any comic book publisher that he wants to publish his work, but he will only be paying them a publishing fee, right? Maybe a percentage of the sales, things like that. But the majority of the revenue in the income that comes from these creations, these comic books, his intellectual property or IP is going to stay with him. And I think that's a smart move. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of people with money, very, very wealthy individuals. And yeah, you meet that rare, doctor or lawyer that works for a firm and is a W-2 employee that makes a lot of money. Yes, that can happen. But for the most part, the very, very wealthy or well-to-do financially are in that position because they started their own business. They were an entrepreneur. They basically own themselves. They own their business. And that business has value, and what it can produce has value. And James Tynion, I think, is a pretty smart guy. I'm sure he was advised a long time ago, as soon as you can go independent and create your own work, create your own IP, and keep that work under yourself, the more money you're going to make, especially long term. And that's the way to look at it. I think he's made enough money working for DC over the last few years. He's been very successful, and then I think he just got a bunch of cash to come do this deal with Substack. So yeah, I think he's going to do pretty well. That's my feeling. All right, guys, that's what I had for you. I hope everybody's having a good start to the week. Tomorrow is New Comic Book Day. I will be doing a video probably in the afternoon highlighting the books that are coming out the following Wednesday. So that'll be August 18th. So make sure that you check that video out in the afternoon. And please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you like this move that James Tynion did? Do you like my move of creating a Justice for Comics newsletter? I'm going to have a weekly posting of my thoughts and ramblings and amusements, whatever it's going to be. Who knows? You'll have to subscribe and see. All right, guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, hit the bell for notifications, and please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of this content, and I'll see you guys soon.